I moved to New York City in the fall of 2008. I'd visited several times previously, rushing around like any other tourist to take in the sights. And now, as I settled into what would become a dozen years in the city, it felt like a luxury to take my time, to wander. I've lived in several other places and always enjoyed exploring them on foot. In New York, I did the same, while carrying a compact digital camera, my trusty Canon Elf, true to the times, and began capturing observations of the city's streets, people, parks, architecture, eccentricities. These were early days for social media. Instagram had not yet been born, and the rising blogging platform was Tumblr. On New Year's Day of 2009, I started a daily photo blog, CoinUp, named for the way each daily photo, to me, felt like a little prize from a vending machine. For 3 years, I became obsessed with CoinUp. No small number of more talented photographers have captured their views of New York City, but this was my view, and it became a kind of meditation too. Looking for each day's CoinUp moment kept me alert to my surroundings, and each evening I would winnow the day's photographs to just one that epitomized that day. I became efficient with the camera, always kept in the same pocket, ready to be swept out and thumbed to action in one quick gesture. It's the truest of cliches. You never know what will happen next in New York City. Around any corner you might walk up on a film shoot, a bus accident, a heated argument, a parade, a protest, or a funeral. As a general rule, I chose photos for CoinOp that had at least two things happening at once, some double meaning or synchronicity at play. In a city of so many overlapping realities and pluralities, there's never just one thing happening in any given frame. New York is a city to love for sure, but it is also a city to be survived. In the ongoing surviving arise moments of hope, beauty, joy, despair, whether in the form of graffiti or a couple sharing a quiet moment in the park, or a child mid-air on a pogo stick. Sometime in 2012, I stopped posting photos to CoinUp. This was a conscious decision to be more present in life, rather than obsessed with capturing it. Maybe, in part, it was related to the fact that my spouse and I were expecting our first child. It wasn't until a decade later, after a global pandemic and a strange sequence of events had set our small family on a different path and away from New York entirely, that I excavated my CoinUp photos. I'd started looking at photo collections by accomplished street photographers, artists who'd so clearly been far more determined than myself to wander, wait, hunt, collect, compose, explore, and uncover the many facets of this city that so many of us have lived and loved. I don't place myself in that pantheon of street photographers, and yet here I am, offering up my own observations at the same altar. Maybe every New Yorker has their own New York City, and this is mine. Thanks for taking a look. Jazz, I am super stoked you are here. Agreed to join me today. I threw a shot out there. I was like, if I had my first choice of people to preview this with, it would be Jaz Wilson to take a look
Yay.
at this book,
Awesome.
Street Photography. I was back when I moved into New York City, 2008, started posting a photo a day, did it for 3 straight years, posted to Tumblr. Did you have a Tumblr?
I did have a Tumblr. I had a Tumblr for strictly paper when I was doing that. And then I
Yeah,
also had Don't Forget to Look Up, which was kind of my Tumblr thing when that was a thing.
nice. Yeah, yeah. And did you treat it like a diary or a blog or
Yeah.
something?
It's like
Yeah,
a photo diary. Anytime I found like some fun pictures, like the whole premise of Don't Forget to Look Up was just like, we literally forget to look up. So it could be anything from like graffiti, mural art, whether you're in the city or looking up at like a stained glass window that's
yeah.
like, the dome or something like that. So
Nice. Well, right on.
everywhere.
Again, we're colleagues in our day jobs, and then I have mad respect. You're one of my favorite people on the planet. And
Likewise.
like I respect you as an artist so much, and like you just have such an interesting background and like a nice spectrum of things that you're constantly doing. And so thanks for joining for this. We won't sit here for a 2-hour podcast episode, but
Thank you for
uh
having me.
yeah, quickly run through some stuff. I printed a few copies of this, 39 Forks Publishing, and it's really hard to share things these days. So I was trying to think how to do a little share about it, and a little preview conversation seemed like fun.
Yeah.
Could you share one or two more things about yourself that I'm missing though as an artist? Like I know you are a Burning Man pro and I don't
Yeah, well, the from an artist perspective, I would say my background was kind of I was very into art and web design and video games. And a lot of the earlier things in my career, I designed like a game for the National Eye Institute, which was really cool. I was an intern at Nickelodeon, which Nick.com, which I was working on like Nacho Libre and the animations before that came out, which was really cool on the site, and they loved me. And then I ended up coming back and started working at Nick Jr. And I worked on a bunch of different things there, and then realized very quickly that there was like something that was missing from like the digital platform, and I was really into paper art. So I proposed basically creating paper templates of like Dora the Explorer or whatever. And so I studied architecture when I was in high school. So, you know, essentially built fourth scale model of like Dora the Explorer's castle and turned it into a template that was easy for parents and kids to put together,
nice.
um, which was really awesome,
Yeah,
and created a job attached to my other job,
right, right.
and also had the pleasure to work on the Nick app, which had the do not touch button, which I was also doing animations for before we started hiring out stuff. So that was kind of like the beginning of the career, but I do a
Gotcha.
wide array of things.
And then the paper art stuff that you do, that I know you had to have an Instagram for that. Was that before
Yeah,
that, or did that kind of come out of that, or was it?
that came out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I realized that there was no like resource, like anytime you found a resource that was like web related, it was also like everything else in the world. It was not a niche thing for paper. So I started strictly paper as the blog, and kind of just started posting all of my favorite artists because it was going to be my source of inspiration. And people picked it up and really loved it, and even when I had my down moments, they're like, please come back. Like I launched several artists' careers as well, which was really awesome. I've had a lot of thank you messages. I still am in contact with a lot of amazing paper artists, which is really lovely. I have them send me gifts from time to time. I have free access to art exhibits too, which is really
Yeah.
sweet. And it was all like not monetized at all, which was great. It was just like a hobby on the side for inspiration. So
Yeah, yeah, amazing. Well, I volunteer to help on any project that you ever need any help on. That's
I
the
love that.
strictly paper stuff. It's just beyond. It's just so cool, and the
Yeah.
community that you've built there and everything. So thanks again. I'd love to just jump in here and
Yeah.
kind of just do a preview for a few minutes. Yeah, like just a couple more quick thoughts on the book itself. Like I
Mhm.
sat on the photos for years, like I stopped posting in 2012 and then I just
Yeah.
put this together in the last year, so over 10 years. And I went back and I was going through them over the years and kind of collecting them. I really love the photos so much. And I posted like over 1,200 of them. And so I curated that down to about 450.
Oh,
But
wow.
for 3 years, I was obsessed with posting. And I know a lot of people
Yeah.
with their Tumblr too. But
Yeah.
along with posting, I loved I loved wandering New York City. And so I was
Yeah.
constantly wandering around, seeing things, taking photos, and the first pages of this show the camera I was using. This is before smartphones, really. So I had one of these little
Lovely.
elves,
Yeah. Keeping
Canon
it
elf.
classic.
Yeah, and I got really I was a total pro at pulling that out of my pocket all in one gesture and like snapping a photo kind of on the
Yeah.
slide. Um, and so I have a list of favorites in the back in an index, but I thought I'd just kind of scroll through, pause on any to chat about, and just give a little preview in that way.
Yeah,
Um,
I like that. That
cool.
sounds good.
And this is a page in the beginning there too, which shows that the Tumblr interface, which is familiar to anybody
Yeah.
who posted.
Come on,
There's
nostalgia.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly. There's a little intro in the book, and then that's the first image, which was the moment I was like, oh, I should start this. Um,
Hmm.
so conceptually, I was really trying to capture images where there were at least two things going on at a time in the photo, not just like some aesthetic thing that I really liked. And so
Yeah.
things like this would really pop out at me.
Yeah.
This is in chronological order too, so it's kind of like not curated across, not mixed up. It's actually in order. Um,
Hmm.
and I haven't done a book preview before in a video, so I'm not really sure the best way to go through this, but jump in
I
and
like this though. Yeah. I
yeah,
like this though because I can already see like kind of the connections a little bit. It's like, you can see the kind of nuance of what you're trying to play at, which is really nice. Like the cone being inside the thing, the guy being inside the thing. It's like, and it's also kind of reversed with the up and down. So I like the balance of it so far. Looks great.
yeah, dude. I knew you would see that kind of thing immediately. And like it was funny how that kind of narrative almost plays out over the course of days when you're posting to a Tumblr in a street photography thing like this, because it was completely
Yeah.
intentional. Like it was just it would
Yeah.
happen kind of naturally. And it was like these two images to me, after staring at them for a while, that image on the
Hmm.
left looks like a skull, you know?
Yep.
And
The negative space. Hmm.
yeah. And I started seeing the city that way, kind of with these connections. Um,
Good.
yeah, so this one here, like there was an actual person sitting there, and most people passing by completely did not notice them. They were kind of like a ghost. And so
Hmm.
early on in posting, there's tons of people like that around the city that are just kind of in the shadows and
Yeah.
unnoticed. Um, I thought this was hilarious. Liquor store with a little riding horse out front. So like I imagine people leaving their kids on that while they go inside.
Yeah.
Um, and, you can scroll up to this kind of list I have. Um,
I also like that it kind of captures like this history because if you're doing it in chronological order, it just feels like you're not only pulling the aesthetic of what you're seeing like in these like comparative photos, but like also just like the thing, like the signage, the things people are wearing. It's kind of like a timeline in a like, and you see that kind of shift, like especially you said 2009 to 2012, like that's a long like shift and a lot changed during that timeline too. So
hey,
it's really
right.
nice to kind of have that part of history. It's like a chunk of history captured in a book too.
Yeah. And when you go back and look at street photographers from like the 50s, it's so
Yeah.
evident that time frame. And so I imagine that similar thing will happen
Yeah.
here. This one, natural body, and then there's a guy on a ladder with his shirt off, like this elderly gentleman. And
And then I see and
yeah,
then I
that
see
was
on
one
the
of the
right.
yeah. And then there's this
Yeah.
pregnant lady with her belly outside around the thing. And these were
Yeah.
images where I was like, I almost felt like a weird responsibility of like, oh, I have to
I
share
need to
this.
capture
Like,
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, like this is weird. Like the little scrap of paper, I would just be walking along and notice, and it says island on it, and it's like an island on the
That's actually Iceland, isn't it?
is it? I don't know.
I think it is. Yeah, that's Iceland.
Oh yeah.
That's where my husband's from.
Oh, nice.
That's hilarious.
Um, little moment
Okay,
off.
Marilyn, I see you.
Yeah, exactly. Just completely like I'm walking along, this is happening. I'm like, okay, I gotta capture that. Um, hurricane wreckage, ladders are everywhere all over the city.
Everywhere. Scaffolding. Oh, that's
This is the
cool.
back cover, this skater guy
Mm-hmm.
at Union Square.
Mm-hmm.
That was just this one of those moments, one in a million moments right there.
Love it.
One of the things I noticed wandering New York City a bunch was eye contact from models in advertisements.
Mm-hmm.
Like you think about how many people go through their lives and don't get eye contact. Like
Oh yeah.
a lot of New
Especially in New
Yorkers
York.
get most of their eye contact from advertisements, you know?
Yeah,
And
totally.
then I love this guy over here who's kind of standing next to the thing. He's probably oblivious to how similar he looks, you know? Like,
Yeah, they both have the same stance.
yeah, I wanted to walk over and point it out, but and then this one's of
I
course the
really love this chair foot. Yeah, I love that. That's such a classic. Like even like things like what is New York? Like the constant, like I even have pictures where it's like just the most random things. Like I went to this the Whole Foods once and the part of the building was like inside of one of the poles and I'm like, did they just like build it? Like how did this happen? Like it was just like in there. And I'm like, what is this? What
yeah,
is this like unique or people carrying stuff? I mean, I'm definitely a culprit for that. Find things on the street and you're like, oh, this is super nice. Like, you know,
right.
so
Yeah, I was talking with someone just a few weeks ago who had lived in New York for 20 years, and we agreed the thing we missed the most was almost every time you would go out for a walk or for anything, you see
yeah,
something that you just didn't expect or couldn't have
yeah,
predicted, or and there's always at least one thing that kind of is like, oh yeah, there's that thing.
yeah. I mean, even working in Times Square, I remember there was like moments where I would come out of the subway and going back to the little girl having her like Marilyn Monroe moment, literally like hundreds of Marilyn Monroes like coming at you and you're just trying to get to work. And I'm like, what is this?
Right.
Like you never know like what you're gonna see.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. This was one of my faves in the whole time I did this. It was during the New York Yankees parade,
Oh wow.
the World Series, and this guy was standing on the light for the crosswalk, and he's covering up Way and Murray so that it says
Hmm.
one Ray. Um, and that's just
Also,
never
hello, Spider-Man.
right, right. It's just never gonna happen, like the fact that I
Yeah.
managed to see that and just was right
But
there.
also, I like that picture if you zoom in again too, is that you can actually see it on the other side in the distance too. Like after you explain
Oh,
that, like kind of seeing the balance of the two of those things too,
yeah,
you know,
right.
one Ray
One Ray.
and then Murray.
Yeah. And like this kid with these two heads that he's selling on this table, these taxidermy deer, like again,
That's
that
so
goes to
good.
what we were just talking about. Like this kind of thing is constantly popping up.
Yeah. Yeah. You never quite know what you're gonna see. The little video store, the throwbacks.
Yeah, I love that. Um,
Turkey had a bad day.
this gold guy, I'm sure you've seen him and performers like him around.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They always freak me out because like you're like, is this a statue? And then if you're like going back to the not paying attention or having eye contact, and then you're just like caught off guard when someone moves, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. You just mentioned all the little Marylands. This is like the one of
Oh
the
my gosh, the Santa Cons,
like
yeah,
42nd Street and just
everywhere. Even in Williamsburg,
yeah.
we're still living around that area. You just like come out and it's just like sea of red.
This is the one image in the whole time I posted on the right where my camera did something weird like this. This was a group of Hare
Hmm.
Krishnas walking along and they were chanting.
Oh wow.
Pulled my camera out, snapped a photo in the same manner that I did almost every other photo, but
And that's how I captured it.
it
Yeah.
captured them like from the top being invisible. And
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, It was just really
That's kind of
weird.
wild.
I know. I kind
Yeah,
of want to get a print of some of these just to have in my own house to live with, and that's
you
one.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I love the one way too. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, one way or is it multiple ways?
Right. There's a couple of corners in New York City where the depending on the time of day, direction of the street changes.
Oh,
It's really bizarre.
sure know how to confuse you.
Right. Let's see. I really didn't want to just scroll through every single picture, but so we could probably wrap it in a minute, but um
Yeah.
I like this. This one was one of my faves with the somebody's just storing their balloons out there long enough that they get snowed on and
Yeah. It's a moment literally frozen in time.
yeah, it kind of becomes looks like a raspberry or like
It
this
does. It does.
taxi with a taxi
Oh,
card
wow.
or in the trunk. Um,
You're inspiring me. Want to get like a point and shoot.
yeah. Oh, there's the gold guy again, sleeping in the subway.
I always love these beautiful moments of like the flowers when you go to like the botanical gardens or something like that. Like just like the depth of like the colors changing or like season shifting. So beautiful. I have many pictures like that. And then
Nice.
that one little like yellow.
I know. Yeah, that inspired that
Don't
one.
forget about me.
It was like, did somebody throw a seed in there knowing that would happen? Or
Probably.
here's one of those moments you're just walking along and there's a dance group practicing at an intersection in Broadway or in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Or being like accidentally on a film set or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's always fun.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I love the mixture though. It like it's like little time capsules, each one of them. It's like what was happening during this time? What were people thinking?
Yeah,
The eras that they're attached to.
this lady on stilts is one of my faves. She's
That's
sitting on
pretty
the
funny. I was like, is that a long dress? What is
yeah,
happening?
she's a stilt walker, and that's how she was resting was by
She's
sitting.
like, I'm chilling right now.
Yeah, let me pause on one more, and then we can kind of just maybe wrap it.
Cool.
Botanical garden. Oh, there's stilts in the parade, 9/11.
I like the spreads too. That's cool.
I was a little worried, like,
It's nice to break it up, I mean, you've been doing it with like some small, some big, some
yeah,
like it makes it feel dynamic, you know?
I don't know what I'm gonna end on. It's gonna be this last one that I have listed as my faves. Oh, let's end on this one here.
Okay.
There's the parade picture with
Love the
the
pogo stick.
Statue of Liberty hand, and then on the right, this girl who's mid-air on the pogo stick
Yeah,
in Union Square.
I love it. All the
Yeah,
umbrellas too. I love it's just like even on the left, like it's just like the sea of umbrellas, and then it's like, oh, yeah, guerrilla publishing.
yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Well, thank you again so much.
My
A little
pleasure.
preview. I really appreciate you just kind of look chatting about it as we go. And
Yeah, yeah. No, it feels like I said, it's like it's one of those things like it's like nostalgia, also the timeline. There's so many different things happening. So, congratulations on publishing it.
yeah, thanks. Thanks.
And it's a fun project, you know?
It is, yeah. It's really fun, kind of near and dear to my heart. And uh yeah,
Those types of things always tend to come out better because it's just like, you know, you put your heart and soul into it, and it's like your also your perspective too. And it's nice to have other people tap into that. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Cool. Well,
fun.
thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.